Hello and welcome to Sansad TV. You're watching Viewpoint with me, Frank Rausen Pereira. Well, a cargo ship which was carrying diesel and hazardous substances sank off the Kerala coast on the 25th of May. The Liberia-flagged ship, a 28-year-old vessel, was sailing from Thiruvananthapuram to Kochi when it capsized around 25 kilometers southwest of Alappuzha. The ship went down with more than 600 containers, some of which washed ashore on Monday. While minor oil traces have been detected, there has been no major oil spill. The Nautical Advisor to the government outlined three top operational priorities such as oil recovery from the sunken vessel, retrieval of drifting containers and removal of beached containers. The environmental threat posed by the incident is being actively mitigated. The Indian Coast Guard has deployed ships and aircraft for aerial surveillance. Measures are being followed as per the National Oil Spill Disaster Contingency Plan. In this edition of Viewpoint, we will analyze the long-term impact of oil spills. Joining me on the program today are Dr. Grinson George, Director, Central Marine Fisheries Research Institute, and Dr. George Nainan, Director, Central Institute of Fisheries Technology. They both come under the ICAR. Thank you to both my guests for joining me on this edition of Viewpoint. Dr. Grinson, let me start the program with you first. Let's first try and understand the seriousness of this particular incident that took place on the 25th of May. Are there any areas of concern, something that is worrying us, and how concerned should we be with this particular situation?
Okay, sinking a ship very close to the coastal waters, it's always a risk-associated incident. And when this mishap happened very close to the coastal waters of Kerala, which has got an active fishery in this area, the first action was from the Coast Guard side and then followed up by the Kerala State Disaster Management Authority. Subsequently, we were also intimated by different agencies, and particularly media is having a very strong presence in Kerala, and they were shooting so many questions also. So initially, as a mishap occurred in the sea, the first priority was to save the life of the people in the sea, and it happened. And to contain any material waters in the sea to be diluted with the waters very close to the coastal areas. So that has to be contained. And Coast Guard took serious measures to contain the same thing. Initially, there were reports of oil spillage happening at the source, but it was contained very much in the source itself. Immediately, Government of Kerala came up with a statutory regulation on banning the fishing and related activities at 20 nautical miles in and around this region. So no fishing was happening. Prior to this incident also, the weather was not so good. The sea state was bad. Because of the inclement weather, it was indicated that no fishing activity will take place during that time. So fortunately, from this area, there was no fishing reported during the entire period of time. So as soon as we received the information, our team were divided into three of 4 members each, and we were going into different parts of the coastal Kerala, starting from the source and nearby areas, very close to the coastal waters only, because we were not having an opportunity to go into the sea because of the inclement weather. Then our one team moved towards the southern side, another team moved towards the northern side. But as we moved to the northern side, we could see that there was no indication of any issues happening towards the northern side. INCOIS, Indian National Center for Ocean Information Services, they clearly indicated that from the source to the coastal area, there is a possibility of materials from the vessel to come to the shore in the southwest part of Kerala. So more attention was given to southwest part of Kerala, starting from the places where mud banks are formed called Purakkad area. Starting from Purakkad to south, our team was very active in doing the analysis.
Wonderful.
There were many empty containers. Some containers were having so-called hazard substances. The clear details are not available. Still, it's not available because people told that some raw materials were meant for plastic, some raw materials were meant for cotton and related industry, some raw materials were for tire industry, some raw materials contained calcium carbide. These are the information what received from different agencies, and clearly the quantity is not known. How much quantity of the material has been dispersed in the waters, so we don't have an accurate idea.
Right. So that assessment is still ongoing, and you'll have to wait and see what exactly happens on that front, isn't it?
It's not really so because the accurate quantity of the material which was loaded in the ship is known because DG Shipping is having the entire details. But the problem is like most of these containers are sealed properly. So even the containers which are having a lot of load, it has sunken to the deeper waters. From where it is not retrieved. Only those containers which were light in weight, they were moving along with the currents and wind and reached the shore. So
Right.
our action plan should be based on the amount of material which will be released into the seawater. So that is main concern. So initially there were so many doubts that whether it is going to affect the ecological sensitive areas like mangroves or seagrasses or seaweed beds or soft corals, or per se people were worried about small pelagic fishes because many of them have a logical conclusion that the bigger fishes will move away from this area of disaster because they may not prefer if there is a toxic content in the water. People were worried about the long-term toxic effect of any material which is coming into the water and how it is going to affect. So
Right.
we are still continuing our assessment and we are continuing our routine ways of sampling in the different stations where we witness that there can be a possibility of the materials coming to the shore.
Absolutely. Okay, so it's an ongoing process, and the process has to continue because it's a tricky situation at the end of the day, and we do not want any untoward incident. So no stone is left unturned, literally speaking, to ensure that we put our best foot forward. All right, Dr. Naina, let me bring you into the picture now. Let's also understand, the fish at sea. A lot has been said and a lot has been spoken about that as well. Thankfully, like Dr. Grinson has already pointed out, that fishing has already been stopped as a result of inclement weather. But, has marine life been impacted, been affected as a result of this particular incident?
Yes, actually, in this point, I would like to tell that our institute is a major institute and we are the national referral lab for the fish and fish products in the country. So right from the beginning of this incident happened, we are actively involved in the mitigation process, and we are actively supporting the state government. Okay, then 2 days before, we had a high-power meeting in which the Minister of State, Minister of Fisheries, has entrusted us with the task of ascertaining whether the species or the commercially available species have any quality concerns related to this incident, because it is a very sensitive thing when it is affecting the entire fish value chain. As you know, the 4 coastal districts, they support a major fishing community and their livelihood is being affected. And there are a lot of reports that fish is not edible for consumption. So in this regard, we got the support from the state government. We collected the samples of the edible species right from the 4 coastal districts, and we have given a preliminary analysis of these samples. From the preliminary analysis, we have found out that the fish is as good as safe for consumption. We have also taken the water samples, and the preliminary investigations we have done and submitted our report to government. The detailed investigations, we are on to it because there are apprehensions that hazardous materials are there. Actually, it is not a major oil spill, but it was an assorted cargo vessel, and the assorted cargo that contains, there are indications that we have nodules, that is the microplastic nodules, which is a raw material for the plastic industry. We have reports that calcium carbide is there, and of course the oil spill is there. So the likelihood of having the polyaromatic hydrocarbons, PH, PCBs, or even the microplastics and other hazardous chemicals, and the chance of contamination of these chemicals in the fish value chain requires a long-term study in which CFT is doing our level best to take the samples and do the long-term study to see whether any of these hazardous chemicals are gone into the fish value chain. So that work is being carried out now.
Right. Absolutely. Okay, Dr. Grinson, let me come back to you now. Let's also try and understand, Dr. Nainan gave us an understanding as to how this is important. It is critical. We need to take a look at sea life or fish as a whole. But, looking at the larger ecosystem, what kind of an impact does an incident like this have on the larger ecosystem? Because the general populace, the public also worried and concerned about whether or not they should actually be consuming this fish. The fishermen are concerned about how long this is going to go on and is it going to impact their livelihood as well. So if you look at the entire ecosystem as a whole, what kind of an impact does it have?
This ecosystem where we are discussing now, it falls mostly under the upwelling zone. Upwelling zone is a zone where the southwest monsoon is playing a crucial role. And the southwest monsoon just initiated. Along with southwest monsoon, this upwelling brings in a lot of nutrients, and the torrential rains will bring a lot of discharges into the sea. This discharge will contain a lot of nutrients, and nutrients along with the upwell nutrients will bring a lot of productivity. And this is the active physiological period of many of the small pelagic fishes, including Indian oil sardine, which is the most dominant wild caught fish in India. So when such systems get disturbed, then there is a possibility of productivity getting affected. Fortunately, as Dr. Nayanan indicated, our samplings also indicated that except for turbidity, everything remains normal or controlled as on now. The water analysis, the preliminary analysis indicated that only. So in the initial 48 hours, probably the empty containers only came, and we believe that the sealed containers will be retrieved properly. But if there is further spillage occurring either from the ship or from the containers which has sunken, then situations may change also. So a constant monitoring is required unless and until the DG shipping, the Coast Guard and related agencies indicate that everything is under control. So we are constantly monitoring the situation. But as on now, there is nothing to be worried because the system remains perfectly okay.
Let me go across to Dr. Nayanan once again. Dr. Nayanan, as far as signs are concerned, what are the signs that you look out for, with regards to marine life after an incident like this? What are the kind of SOPs that you follow, and what are the major challenges?
Like immediate effects, if you see looking at the marine life, if an incident like this happens, we can there will be visible signs of impact of this incident. For example, for the marine mammals, if they have coated with fur and other feather and other things, it will destroy the insulating capacity of their coatings, and they will be vulnerable to other conditions. And they can be even detrimental to the juveniles of sea turtles. They can be trapped in oil. And also, for example, for the fish, shellfish and other corals, it may be exposed to immediate concern, but it can come to contact with oil. And if it is mixed with the water column, again, it can be detrimental to their growth, their physiological functions, and also it can also cause their reproduction and impairment also. These are the immediate effects and the long-term effects. But again, direct toxicity is there because oil, as you know, it is toxic. It can kill the organisms upon contact also, especially those on the surface and in areas where it is concentrated oil spills. And it can also cause suffocation issues. It can cause damage to sensitive habitats. And it can also, more importantly, it can cause the disruption of the food chain. Long-term effects, there are sublethal effects. Even at lower concentration, this oil spill can cause sublethal effects. Then persistence of oil. It can persist in the environment for years, continuing to impact the organism and habitat. Toxicity can be an issue. But as far as we know, right, my colleague Dr. Grinson also pointed out, we have done an effective containment exercise in this regard. Immediately, the state government has come to action along with the central agencies, including the Coast Guard. So, my belief and all of us, we are believing that the oil spill, we cannot tell per se it's a major oil spill because basically it was a container ship vessel and the oil is limited. That capacity of oil is limited. But even though it's an oil spill, it was effectively contained and steps are on to remove the oil from the sea surface. The other hazardous materials, for example, now we are telling about the plastic nodules. So that will pose a concern because if the container is broke open, and many of the cases it's reported that this plastic nodules, or you tell them as nurdles, it is being washed ashore. And it has to be manually cleaned up, actually. That will take time. And also calcium carbide, as you know, this is a banned chemical in India, but it is a major important raw material for so many other chemical industries. It produces acetylene gas, okay. And we also use it for some unfair trade practices, like we use it for ripening of fruits and other things. But the moment calcium carbonate comes into contact with water, it can produce the exothermic reaction, and it can lead to change in temperature, and all these issues can happen. But fortunately, as on now, there are no official confirmation that calcium carbonate has come into contact with the seawater. So containment exercise is on, and that is as per the regular protocols. Coast Guard, other agencies are on to it.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. Good to know that, it's not as serious as one would have thought it out to be, and glad that all the authorities are on the job and ensuring that the situation is being monitored 24/7, and we are on our toes so that no untoward incident does take place. Dr. Grinson, coming back to you now, let's also try and understand, generally speaking, moving away from this particular incident, talking about the marine ecosystem as a whole, what kind of a long-lasting impact or a large-scale impact do oil spills generally have on the marine ecosystem, and how do we safeguard against it?
Okay, in general, oil spills are happening throughout the Indian coast because we do have vessels operating engines, and whenever vessels are operating engines, there is a possibility of small spills of oil happening in the water. You can imagine the number of vessels which are operating in our EEZ. So with this many number of vessels, definitely there is some sort of oil spill happening on a daily basis in our waters. But refined oil spill is comparatively much safer than crude oil. Crude oil is still denser and it can have impact in the column waters. You can imagine the type of incident happened in Chennai a few years back when the crude oil spill was there. You could have seen like the type of damage it created to the coastal ecosystem that time.
Right.
So we should have an exercise on where our ecologically sensitive areas lie and how they support the ecosystem. We should demarcate such areas, and we should have our navigation channels somewhat as far as possible, practically possible, away from these ecologically sensitive areas. Even some untoward incident happen, we should have spatial management plans available on our side. We should have a master plan for the entire EEZ, where we should separate out the ecologically sensitive areas, and we could practically see like how best we can manage the navigation channel of such vessels in our country. In addition, when such a problem is happening, these are once in a while problems, but every time when there is a mishap, we learn from that mishap and we try to improve things. There is advent of technologies with respect to salvaging efforts when a ship is sinking. So Dr. Nayanan was indicating about the plastic nodules, but plastic is such a material which is already creating a lot of issues within the coastal environment. So if this is a major problem, why don't we find solutions such as, if it is plastic, let the plastics need not be navigated so much through the coastal waters. The countries which require plastic, let them generate it at the source rather than doing exercises of transferring this from one particular location to another location and having such mishaps which creates terrible impacts on the ecosystem. Let us try to have mechanisms in which we want to see that such things will not repeat further in the routine process where such materials are being navigated through the coastal waters.
Absolutely. Dr. Nayanan, coming back to you now, let's also try and understand and figure out how do we be better prepared for situations like this. Since we are here, we are already talking about it. How do we take it up a notch? How do we ensure that, we deal with hazardous materials going forward, and how prepared are we?
In the first place, as you very well know, there is an international convention for the prevention of pollution from ships. That MARPOL regulations are there. The annexures of the MARPOL regulations clearly spell out how to contain the pollutions of various sources from the various sources, including the transportation, salvage. Everything is exhaustively covered under these MARPOL regulations, and all the flag-bearing countries are are bound to comply with the MARPOL regulations. And coming to the sea routes, as Dr. Grinson was mentioning, I believe that this is the newest international sea route that is nearest to one of the most productive coastal area. So it is always ideal to have a little bit further, but there are other concerns that I can very well agree. But for immediate containment, what we suggest, what in my opinion, our opinion, say again, our country still needs a national oil spill response strategy. Akin to, because despite being a maritime nation, we should have this particular specific strategy, because it is going to be often repeated issue. So we should have a national oil spill response strategy. And also we should have, because along with the coastal states, we should have state level marine disaster units akin to NDRF. Okay. NDRF is already there. That is for the national disasters. Akin to that, we should have state level marine disaster units. And also both center and states must jointly invest in coastal contingency plans, especially with increasing maritime trade and extreme weather events. So that is should be there. And one more point is that I want to mention is that community communication is very important, because in this particular incident also it happened so that as usual the media was very active, including the social media, but lot of misinformation was brought to the community, to the society as a whole. So it is very important that a transparent real-time update should be given to the communities who are all involved in this regard, because a lot of half-baked truths and other canals are being spread like that. So we should also have a mechanism to ensure that transparent real-time updates about the incident should be brought to the community, especially the communities like fishermen community, because it is most matters this incidents, because this is their source of livelihood. So we have to take into account these community issues also. But essentially, we should have a major national oil spill response strategy. That should be state and center supported strategy should be there.
Absolutely. All right, time to get quick closing comments now from both the panelists with the best way forward and what next, starting first with you, Dr. Grinson.
Basically, with this incident, I want to say, since the coastal community has been devoid of their share of profit or livelihood during this season, which is a very strong fishing season, and the type of damage our coastal ecosystem, ecologically sensitive ecosystem, suffered because of this mishap, there is a provision for applying for compensation. So when such an incident is happening, it is very important to have the one side is like rescue, maximum saving, salvaging, all those efforts are good. At the same time, we have to have proper accountability on what is happening. The expenditures which are met with this activities, it should be accounted for. And I know in media there are a lot of difficulties in restricting some of the contents which are flourishing when such an incident is happening. For example, as Dr. Nayanan was indicating, after this incident happened, a dolphin washed ashore. When the dolphin washed ashore, those who are having correct scientific knowledge about the dolphin postmortem exercises, we know that this this mammal died at least 15 to 20 days before, and it has been washed ashore. But people started linking this with the mishap, what happened. So this is the type of propaganda what is going in social media. Everyone is becoming an expert, but I don't know how we can restrict this, how the real science only will come out of the discussions what is happening. But one way I would like to appreciate the media and social media, there was a lot of sensitization happen among the community, among the people, because of which the entire mechanism was strongly reacting to this mishap, and we were coming up with mechanisms in which we could defend some of the otherwise disastrous things could have happened, because there was proper information being passed on to different organisms, and media was playing a big role in this also. I feel like media can be appreciated this way, but at the same time, there should be some filter which can bring in the right information only to the right people.
Responsible information needs to be put out, and media houses need to be more responsible in putting out this information, especially during sensitive times, is what Dr. Grinson is saying. All right. Dr. Nayanan, please close the show for us with your concluding remarks.
Yeah, thank you. As Dr. Grinson has pointed out that we are having containment measures, but the long-term effect of this particular spill has to be studied in detail. Of course, we are capable of doing it. All the agencies are there, including the sediment monitoring, wildlife, if it is possible for the wildlife rehabilitation plan, it should be there. We are ready for that thing. But you know that the full extent of this spill has to be assessed in real time, and this will take some time also. But it has to be done on a constant basis. And see, for example, even after the famous incident that Exxon Valdez oil spill in Alaska in 1989, the scientists found that the residues remained in the coastal sediments and mussel beds for almost more than 25 years. Okay. So there could be some long-term impacts on this spill, but this needs a scientific study. And also in some cases, definitely the nature bounces back. Given the resilient nature of resilient aspect of the nature, it bounces back and the ecosystem recovers itself. But we cannot left everything to nature. We should have our plans in place. We should have a long-term strategy for efficiently monitoring our coastal ecosystems, and also we should have effective containment strategy. In the case of this sort of untoward incidents happens. That is all I want to tell. Thank you very
All
much.
right. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Grinson and Dr. Nayan, for joining me on the program and sharing your views and putting things into perspective for us.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So what's coming out of this discussion is that this incident that took place on the 25th of May is under control at the moment. There is no need to worry. There is no need to panic. All measures have been taken by the authorities concerned to ensure that the situation is kept under control and all fears mitigated. But the situation continues to evolve and we need to keep a close eye on what's likely to happen in the next few days till an all clear is given at the end. On the large scale, though, we need to ensure that we have better planning and better processes in place to deal with such incidents and incidents of oil spill. That's it on this edition of Viewpoint. This is Frank Rausen Pereira signing off.
संसद टीवी के और भी प्रोग्राम्स देखने के लिए सब्सक्राइब करें हमारा YouTube चैनल और हाँ, इन्हें लाइक और शेयर करना ना भूलें।